Imagine this. You're standing on a cliff at dusk, the wind pressing against your face like the world's slow exhale. The sea below moves with its own rhythm, chaotic yet serene. And in that moment, a thought flickers across your mind. Who am I, really, in all of this? The cliff doesn't answer. The sea doesn't pause. But the question hangs weightless and electric. Because deep down, you sense something unsettling, that the you doing the asking might be an illusion. Alan Watts once said, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself." But that's not how we live, is it? We live as though we are isolated pilots of our own existence, steering, controlling, pushing against a world that resists us. We've been raised to believe in the myth of separation, that there's a me in here and a world out there, that life is something happening to us, rather than through us. And this illusion is so convincing, so deeply rooted, that we forget it's even there. The tragedy and the beauty is that this illusion feels real because it's necessary for the game of being human. It gives structure, ambition, identity, but it also traps us in anxiety and loneliness. We keep searching for meaning as if it were hidden behind the next achievement, the next love, the next victory, never realizing that what we seek is the one thing we've been denying all along, that we were never separate from it. Consider the way we speak about life. We say, "I came into this world." What's countered? You didn't come into this world. You came out of it. Just as a wave rises from the sea, you emerged from the totality of existence. Yet somehow, somewhere along the way, we decided we were the wave that could stand apart from the ocean, that we could command the tides by sheer will. This illusion of control has shaped every aspect of our civilization. We build empires, we wage wars, we construct technologies that promise mastery over nature, time, and even death. But under that pursuit is fear. The fear that if we don't control, we'll collapse into chaos. That if we surrender, we'll dissolve. But what invites us to see the paradox? The more you try to hold on, the more life slips through your fingers. It's like grasping water. The tighter the fist, the less you have. In that tension lives our suffering. The endless striving to fix ourselves, to become something, to find purpose, as if existence itself were incomplete. But what if there was nothing to find? What if the illusion you still believe, that you are a separate, isolated being navigating a hostile universe, is precisely what keeps you from seeing that you are the universe, looking back at itself? Nietzsche once wrote, "And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." Perhaps we have all gone deaf to the music of existence, the rhythm that hums beneath every breath, every motion, every flicker of consciousness. We keep chasing the melody outside ourselves, never realizing it's been playing within us all along. The world as you perceive it, the trees, the cities, the people you love, is not something you stand apart from. You are the eyes through which it perceives itself. The illusion is not that the world exists. The illusion is that you exist apart from it. And yet, even knowing this, we continue the masquerade. Because the illusion is seductive. It gives us stories to live by, heroes, victims, saviors, sinners. Without it, who would we be? The truth feels too vast, too ungraspable. So we cling to the mask of the self, fragile, anxious, endlessly striving, and call it reality. But beneath that mask lies the ancient truth what's tried to remind us of, that the self you think you are is a temporary pattern, a ripple on the infinite surface of being. And the moment you see that, truly see it, the illusion begins to crack. The illusion doesn't begin with thought. It begins with identification. From the moment you were a child, the world began whispering into your ear. This is your name. This is your body. This is your face. You learn to respond to that name, to recognize yourself in reflections, to measure your worth in the gaze of others. Slowly, unconsciously, you constructed a border, the line where you end and everything else begins. And that border became sacred. To protect it, you built walls made of ambition, pride, fear, and desire. But the strange thing about these walls is that they're transparent. You can see the world outside, you can even touch it. Yet you remain trapped inside, endlessly performing the role you believe is you. We live in an age obsessed with identity. Every movement, every brand, every social platform screams. Be yourself. Define yourself. Tell the world who you are. But how do you define something that's always changing? How do you pin down a self that shifts with every thought, every breath, every second? We've mistaken the costume for the actor for the play. Carl Jung once observed, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you." And so we let it tell us. We let it shape us into consumable fragments, personalities, aesthetics, ideologies. The self becomes a marketplace, constantly remodeled for approval. But behind the curated faces, the filters, the convictions, there's that same old question echoing in the hollow of being. Who is it that wants all this? Who is the one trying to become someone? Alan Watts often compared this to playing hide and seek with yourself, the divine pretending not to know its own face. You hide behind layers of identity, behind stories of success and failure, belief and disbelief, all to sustain the illusion of separation. And every time you say, I, you reinforce it. The illusion thickens, grows more convincing, until it feels impossible to see through. But let's pause and ask, what would happen if you stopped identifying with that I? Would the world collapse? Or would it finally breathe? Think about the way fear controls you. You fear rejection because it threatens the self-image you've constructed. You fear death because it threatens the continuity of that image. But what if the self is not the thing that dies? What if it's the illusion that dies, and what remains is the very awareness that watched the illusion all along? That quiet, formless presence, the witness behind the noise, has never been born and can never end. Yet we resist this truth because we love our prisons. They give us comfort, predictability, belonging. To dissolve the illusion feels like erasure, like death before dying. Society itself depends on this illusion to function. Economies thrive on the promise that you are incomplete. Religions depend on the fear that you are separate from the divine. Even our language betrays us. I think, I feel, I want. Each sentence slices reality into two, a doer and a deed, when, in truth, they are one and the same. Look closely. You don't breathe, breathing happens. You don't think, thoughts arise. You don't live, life lives through you. But the ego insists otherwise. It wants to be the author, not the instrument. It craves permanence in a world where nothing stays. And so we suffer. We compare, compete, despair. We construct entire civilizations around this phantom self. Nations built on ego, ideologies born from insecurity, systems designed to distract us from the silent terror of our own impermanence. Every war, every hunger for power, every act of domination is an echo of that same illusion, the desperate attempt of the self to assert its reality. Imagine for a moment that the entire human world, the noise, the progress, the chaos, is a mirror hall built by frightened children pretending to be gods. Everywhere you turn, your reflection looks back, distorted, multiplied, endless. You run toward one image after another, trying to find which one is you. But none of them are. They are all echoes of the same illusion, reflections of reflections, looping forever. Watts would smile at this madness, not in mockery, but in compassion. Because beneath the noise, he saw something sacred. The eternal play of consciousness exploring itself, losing itself, and remembering itself again. The tragedy is not that we are lost. The tragedy is that we forgot it was a game. And when the game feels too real, when the mirrors feel too heavy, we begin to suffocate inside our own creations. The illusion of control turns to anxiety. The illusion of self becomes loneliness. We begin to long for a way out, for silence, for unity, for surrender. But surrender to the ego is death. It fights, resists, clings to its illusions even as they burn. And yet, somewhere beneath that struggle, a deeper awareness begins to stir. Faint but unyielding, whispering, what if freedom was never outside the prison? What if the walls were never real? There comes a moment, subtle, almost imperceptible, when the illusion begins to tremble. You can feel it not as a grand awakening, but as a quiet unease, like something inside you has grown tired of pretending. You're sitting in a crowded cafe or standing in traffic, or staring at a glowing screen, and suddenly it hits you. Everything feels hollow. The world moves, people laugh, but some invisible distance remains. You watch yourself playing the role you've perfected, the friend, the worker, the dreamer, and you feel it. The mask, the beautiful, exhausting mask. It's not that the mask is false. It's that it's incomplete. Alan, what's often described enlightenment not as gaining something new, but as losing what was never truly yours, the weight of pretense, the desperate grasping at permanence. He said, "To have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. Instead, you relax and float." But that's terrifying, isn't it? To float, to trust, because our entire lives, we've been taught that control is safety and surrender is loss. The self fears dissolution the way fire fears the rain. And yet, life keeps pulling us toward that dissolution, through heartbreak, failure, aging, death. All these things are not punishments. They are invitations. Each one whispers the same truth. You were never separate from the current. You only thought you were. When the mask begins to crack, the first emotion is rarely peace. It's fear, raw and primal. The ego senses its own fragility and fights to reinforce itself. It says, "No, this can't be all there is. I am someone. I have a story. I matter." But the more you chase certainty, the more it dissolves. You realize that the self you're defending is made of memories and imagination. A collection of yesterday's shadows projected onto tomorrow's wall. You start to notice how often you speak to yourself in secondhand voices. Parents, teachers, lovers, ghosts of your past. Every thought about who I am turns out to be someone else's reflection. You've been living inside a collage of borrowed dreams. And suddenly, you see it. The illusion was never imposed upon you, you built it yourself. Not out of malice, but out of love. Because to be human is to seek meaning. And the self, this fragile constellation of ideas, was the only meaning you could hold. But now, something larger begins to stir beneath the scaffolding. Silence, awareness, the raw pulse of being without name or boundary. You start to sense life not as something happening to you, but as you. The separation between observer and observed begins to fade. The rain on the window is no longer outside you. The sound of traffic, the hum of the earth. It's all part of the same unfolding, the same breath, and yet you can't explain it. The mind tries, but language collapses under its own weight. Words like oneness or unity sound too abstract, too spiritualized. This isn't about religion. It's about direct perception, about seeing that the self and the universe were never two to begin with. The wave is realizing it's water. At this point, life begins to feel strangely transparent. The same world remains, the same routines, the same people, but everything glows faintly with a sense of presence. Time feels softer. Desire loses its grip. You still have preferences, but not attachments. You still feel pain, but not resistance. And for the first time, perhaps in your entire existence, you can simply be. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once wrote, "The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly one you can never have. That's the sorrow of the illusion, the endless striving toward a future self that never arrives. But when the mask cracks, when the striving dissolves, there is no future self to chase. There is only this, the eternal unfolding of now." And that realization is both terrifying and liberating. Because when you stop searching for yourself in time, you begin to find yourself in eternity. This is the turning point, the quiet death before rebirth. You don't become someone new. You simply stop being someone false. You recognize that what you truly are cannot be improved, cannot be diminished, cannot be lost. The illusion begins to melt like ice returning to water. And as it does, a strange joy emerges. Not happiness, not excitement, but something deeper. A joy without cause. A peace that doesn't depend on understanding. You are no longer the dreamer trapped in the dream. You are the dream itself, aware that it's dreaming. And from that awareness, everything begins to change. When the illusion dissolves, life does not suddenly become easy. In fact, it becomes more mysterious than ever. The stories you once believed in, success, morality, destiny, begin to lose their sharp edges. You look at the world and realize that no one is truly in control. Not the kings or the poor, not the scientists or the saints. Everyone is part of the same symphony, each note unaware of how perfectly it fits into the larger song. It's disorienting at first, this loss of certainty. The ego wants to reassemble itself to make sense of what's happening. But meaning, as it turns out, doesn't need to be manufactured. It reveals itself when you stop forcing it. Like the reflection on a still lake, truth appears only when the waters of the mind are calm. Alan Watts often laughed when people asked him how to let go. He would say, "You can't," because the very act of trying to let go is holding on. The paradox is exquisite. The moment you attempt to surrender, you've already failed. True surrender happens when you see that there was never anyone to do the surrendering. Life lets go of itself effortlessly. From this perspective, everything becomes a kind of play, not a trivial game, but a cosmic performance of unimaginable depth. Birth and death, gain and loss, love and grief, all become movements in an eternal rhythm. The wave no longer fears crashing because it knows it never truly left the ocean. You start to notice how even pain carries beauty when you stop resisting it. Suffering loses its sting when it's not personalized. When you cry, it's not you crying. It's life expressing itself through tears. When you laugh, it's not you being happy. It's joy blooming through the space where you once were. Every emotion becomes sacred, a flavor of the infinite tasting itself. There's a story about a monk who asked his master, "What is enlightenment?" The master replied, "When hungry, eat. When tired, sleep." The monk frowned. "But isn't that what everyone does?" The master smiled. "No, most people are never really eating and they're never really sleeping. That's the heart of awakening. Presence. Not the performance of mindfulness, but the effortless intimacy of being fully alive. When you eat, there's no eater, only the dance of flavor, texture, and sensation. When you breathe, there's no breather, only the soft exchange of air and awareness. When you love, there's no lover or beloved, only love, flowing freely, uncontained. Friedrich Schiller once wrote, "Man only plays when in the full sense of the word he is a man, and he is only completely a man when he plays." Watts adored that sentiment, because when you see life as play, you finally stop taking yourself so seriously. You stop clinging to your suffering as proof of significance. You stop demanding that life justify itself. The burden of being lifts, and what remains is pure spontaneity, the cosmic child at the heart of existence, laughing at its own miracle. In this dance of surrender, even contradictions harmonize. The sacred and the profane, the divine and the mundane, all blur into one luminous tapestry. You can sit in traffic and feel eternity humming through the engine noise. You can watch someone you love walk away and still sense the perfection in their absence. Because what leaves and what remains are made of the same essence. And then, something subtle shifts. You realize that awakening is not an event but a rhythm, an inhaling and exhaling of awareness. Sometimes you feel separate again. Sometimes you dissolve. Both are part of the same pulse. Enlightenment is not an escape from illusion. It's the recognition that illusion itself is also divine. So you stop trying to escape the dream. You dance within it. You honor the masks, the stories, the small dramas, knowing they are fleeting expressions of the eternal. You no longer demand that the world be different. You no longer demand that you be different. The illusion hasn't vanished. It's simply become transparent. The self still plays its roles, the thinker, the friend, the creator, but now it's all play acting in full awareness. The fear of being lost disappears, replaced by a profound trust that whatever arises is exactly what must. You see now what Watts meant when he said, "You are the universe experiencing itself. You were never separate from it. You were the laughter and the silence, the birth and the decay, the sound and the listener." And in that recognition, life regains its wonder. There is a moment, after all the seeking ends, when silence becomes the only honest answer. Not the silence of emptiness or despair, but the vast, breathing stillness that holds all things. You don't reach it by effort or through understanding. You stumble into it like someone who has been running for a lifetime suddenly forgetting why they ever ran. You sit still long enough, and the world stops performing for you. The masks fall away, your ambitions, your memories, even your name. The self you once defended with such ferocity fades into transparency. And what's left isn't some grand enlightenment. It's simplicity, the way sunlight touches a wall, the way your breath enters and leaves without instruction, the way existence hums softly, asking nothing in return. Alan Watts once said, "We do not come into this world. We come out of it as leaves from a tree." When you finally see this, truly see it, the separation dissolves into tenderness. Everything you once called other, the wind, the pain, the laughter of a stranger, reveals itself as your own reflection. You realize that life has been speaking to you all along, in the language of change. And all the while, you were listening through the ears of a self that never existed. The illusion you believed, that you are an isolated mind trapped inside a fragile body, turns out to be the greatest disguise the universe ever wore. Because without that illusion, there could be no story, no longing, no love. Without forgetting itself, the infinite could never taste the joy of remembering. And so, you begin to see the paradox not as a flaw, but as the essence of beauty itself. The dream was never a mistake. The illusion was never wrong. It was the divine game of hide and seek. God pretending not to be God, consciousness disguising itself as flesh and thought, just to feel the thrill of awakening once more. Even the pain you once cursed becomes holy. The heartbreaks, the failures, the desperate nights, all of them were doorways. Each wound was a teacher whispering, "Look deeper." Each loss was the sound of the ocean calling the wave back home. When you walk through the world now, there is no division between within and without. The city breathes as you breathe. The sky opens inside your chest. You see people rushing through their lives, their faces tense with striving, and you feel not pity but recognition. Because you know you were them, you are them, still caught in the beautiful illusion of becoming. But you also see the secret beneath it, that no one has ever truly been lost. Even the illusion is part of the whole. Even the confusion is sacred. Heraclitus once wrote, "The hidden harmony is better than the obvious." That hidden harmony, the one that connects pain to beauty, life to death, illusion to truth, begins to reveal itself everywhere. In the cry of a newborn, in the decay of autumn leaves, in the quiet acceptance of an old hand releasing another. You see that existence is not a problem to solve, but a mystery to participate in. And perhaps this is what's meant all along, that freedom isn't about escaping the illusion, but dancing within it with open eyes. You still play the game of selfhood, but now you play it knowingly, joyfully. You wear the mask, but the mask no longer imprisons you. You speak, but your words are woven with silence. You act, but your actions flow like water, effortless and unpossessed. There is no you left to awaken, and yet awakening has happened. There is no one left to understand, and yet understanding fills everything. You are not watching the universe, you are the universe watching. And when you finally fall asleep at night, the thought that once terrified you, that you will one day die, no longer carries fear. Because how can you fear losing what was never separate from the whole? Death, too, is only another disguise. The wave folding back into the sea. The dreamer slipping back into dreamless sleep. The illusion you once believed in so fiercely was never your enemy. It was your teacher, your stage, your mirror. It taught you how to forget, and through forgetting, how to remember. And now, in the stillness beyond striving, beyond belief, beyond name, you see it clearly. You were never a fragment lost in the dark. You were always the darkness and the light, the silence, the sound, the dancer, the dance. And in that knowing, or perhaps in that unknowing, everything ends, and everything begins again.